Hi guys, how are you? My name is Titanium. Welcome back to Evidence-Based Economics and Investing. So let's continue our little economy that we created from scratch. In the last video we talked about bonds, and this one we're going to talk about the savings bubble. For those of you who have not gone through the previous videos, this is probably going to look like gibberish to you. Okay, I suggest you go back. It's on Patreon. Go back, uh, start from the beginning, and then make your way forward. Okay, but quickly. What this is basically you are the king. Okay, you went into Africa and you got some piece of land, and you created your own country, and you created a government and a treasury and a Federal Reserve. And remember, the Federal Reserve is independent within government, not of government. Okay, so don't give me this. It's a private entity bullshit. It's not true. So what happens is the government creates money out of thin air. It prints that money into circulation, and then that money makes its way around. Some of it is taxed back, okay, and the remaining ends up in savings. How about banks? Well, banks create their own money out of thin air as well. They're agents of the government, okay? So what do? They create loans, and loans create deposits, and then those loans make their way into circulation. Some of it gets taxed out, and the rest of it ends up in savings. Well, what about interest? Interest is the same. Interest goes back to the banks, and then those banks also take those profits, and put them in the savings bubbles, right? So you get the interest payment, it's a profit, then you put it into savings, okay? If you did run a surplus, that would also be going into the functional economy, and then ended up in savings. In our case, we are exporters, and the reason that we are exporters is because the U.S. is the world reserve currency. So that means it has to export a certain amount of money to the rest of the world, so it doesn't starve the world of dollars. Okay, the world needs dollars, so we have to export. What about interest on the debt? Well, interest on the debt bypasses the functional economy here. It bypasses it completely, and it ends up in savings as well. So we have banks, right, creating money out of thin air that ends up in savings. We have deficits that end up in savings. We have interest payments that end up in savings, and we have interest payments from government to the savings. Okay. And if we did have a surplus, then that would be also going into savings. But that's not the case. So we have all the savings in here, and insufficient amount is flowing back into the functional economy. So, these real progressive, these MMTers, wannabes, their solution to everything is print, 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 because government debt equals private sector assets, and that means everything is fine. No. No. Wrong, because what you end up with is inflation in some part of the economy. And what part of the economy are we seeing inflation? We're seeing it in the non-functional economy. This is where the money is going, and you can see it's accelerating. Okay, it is accelerating to the upside. We're getting this bubble in asset prices. Same thing in bonds. It's just rising. So when everybody's sitting there saying, well, look, fuck, MMT said, and one of the greatest predictions of MMT was that we're not going to have inflation when we printed $10 trillion plus. That was one of the greatest predictions. That's true, yes, and we saw that. There was no inflation. The problem is, though, that now we have reached full employment, and we're still not seeing inflation. But we are seeing inflation in stocks. You see what I'm saying? See what the problem is? And no one seems to be wanting to talk about it. We don't want to scare away the little savers. And this is why they're not getting this prediction correct. This is why they're not getting this prediction. Because in this prediction, okay, where we're supposed to reach full employment, everything, 4.1%, we're supposed to get all this inflation, and we're not getting it. The inflation is occurring in asset prices instead of the functional economy. Look at the U6 number, okay? 7.9. That's exactly where it was at 2006. And it's exactly where it was back in 1998. Okay, low unemployment. Low unemployment. And where is the inflation? Asset prices. And then you have the real progressives sitting there simulating problems, fear-mongering people. Oh, we need a job guarantee. We need a job guarantee. Oh my God, we need a job guarantee. No, that's not. Why? We don't. Why? I'm a pilot. I need to fly. I don't need to be planting flowers if I lose my job. The other guy's an engineer that builds airplanes. He doesn't need to be sitting there planting flowers. He needs to be sitting there tinkering with airplane parts to make a better airplane, a faster airplane, a more efficient airport, a more comfortable airplane. A teacher needs to be up to speed on what the latest way of teaching is. Okay? And teach our kids better. We need a better education system. We need more knowledge, more innovation. Quantum physics is, doing crazy shit over there. Quantum computing is coming along. Right? And you want me to sit here and plant flowers and pound the pavement, sweep other people's streets, and that's somehow going to make me the engineer or the physicist or the pilot or the doctor or the teacher or the whatever better? We're not solving for jobs here. That's not the name of the game. People in Bangladesh have jobs. The former Soviet Union had jobs. Right? How good is those jobs? They're crap. Okay? It's crap. We're not playing Little League Baseball here where every kid, even the suckiest team, everybody gets a fucking trophy. I mean, come on. So let's get back our little economy. We have low unemployment, okay? And we have money funneling into the savings bubble. And the problem is, it's not the savings. Again, it's not the saving in of itself. Okay, if it was evenly distributed, fine, whatever, great. But when you have 10% of the population that owns 76% of the savings, then we're screwed. It's lopsided. There's nothing expensive enough for Warren Buffett $75 billion to go out and spend. There's just he can't do it, even if he wants to. And he's a cheap bastard too, on top of that. Alright? So you have 90% of the population with 20% of the savings. And then the rich are going to do what? Go out and spend it back into the economy? No. If that was true, then trickle-down economics would be a great success. As I said in past videos, and I keep saying over, this guy, Art Laffer, he would be a genius, Nobel Peace Prize and everything. Doesn't work like that. So where do they put their money? They put their money in bonds and stocks and commodities. Okay? Corporate bonds. Buy back stock. They're not investing it. We don't have access to it. So the MMT solution is, well, if we just keep printing, we can sustain the economy, and that's the solution. Just keep printing, keep sustaining, and then just keep blowing those asset bubbles. Keep going, baby. Keep increasing that debt. Keep increasing that debt. And I sound like Peter Schiff, but I'm not talking like Peter Schiff, because I'm not saying that, the debt is unsustainable. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we need to come up with a solution that is going to involve the savings back into circulation, so we can have an equal system feedback loop. Okay? Yes, we're going to need some deficits, sure, but we also need some of the savings to come back and start investing. Everybody's sitting here saying, well, Trump is going to invest. We're going to have $1 trillion in whatever. Okay, but where's that going to end up? In savings. Did you fix anything? No. You just masked the problem. That's all you did. Do I want to go and steal it from the savers? No. That's the last thing I want. I believe in capitalism. I don't believe in gorging capitalism, where the few just keep taking more and more and more, throw up and keep more and more. Well, okay, you're fucking yourself, right? Who was it? Nick Hanur, I think, said it. Lions are the rich, right? Lions, zebras, grass, right? If there's too many lions, there's not enough zebras, what's going to happen, right? See what I'm saying? Lions starve to death. So I don't want to take it from this. I don't want to go in there and start taxing the shit out of them. I want them to want to come back and invest that money so they can make more money. And the only way to do that, in my opinion, and this is open source, I've said this a million times, I don't have the holy grail of analysis on anything. Okay, this is just my perspective, looking at the problem from far and saying, okay, does it have to be a monetary solution? And it doesn't. And why doesn't it? Because I can solve the problem simply by reducing the amount of hours worked. Okay, there's nothing wrong with automation. What is wrong is when automation is used to destroy people's livelihoods. Okay, and we can fix automation as long as we start to reduce the amount of working hours per year. And I'm not saying tomorrow go out and start working 10 hours a week. Okay, you do it gradually. You do it over time. You do it in sectors where there's too much people looking for jobs. Might we need some deficits? Might we need some transitional jobs? Maybe. I'm not opposed to those things. Okay, but what I need to see is I need to see that there's a scarcity in qualified employees that studied for their specific skill. So if it's a pilot, then I need, less working hours. There's too many pilots, less working hours. We create that scarcity because less hours, you need more pilots, right? And then they go out, and then what happens? Wages start to grow, and as the wages start to grow, then they're going to start competing for pilots. Because the companies that don't compete for pilots are going to have parked airplanes sitting on the tarmac, all right? And some priest is going to be going out there and going, blessing the airplanes every single day, and they're not going to be flying. And you can't have $60 million airplanes sitting on the ground. So it's in their benefit that they go out and they spend and they hire those pilots, okay? And the weak companies that can't handle that shit, get the fuck out. Make the rest of the companies stronger. That's the way it works. And I really don't want to get too much more into that because I want to save that for another video. But I do want to make you aware of the savings bubble. It's something that nobody talks about. Nobody wants to touch it. Okay, it's like voodoo shit. And one more thing. When you hear this name, government deficit or government debt is equal to private sector asset to the penny, right? The 20 trillion. Well, yeah, of course, because there's so much more money creation coming from the banks. So how could it not be the same, right? The problem is we don't know how much the banks are pumping out. How many trillions? Anyway, I'll stop here. I hope I made my point. I hope you get to start thinking about the problem in a completely different way. Start to understand what the private saving bubble means, what I mean by it, right? What's the opposite of savings? It's debt, right? What is private sector debt is also private sector savings. What is government debt is also private sector savings, right? Combined, when you see in the stock market and the bond market, you have 165% of GDP, global GDP, in savings, and you don't have inflation, and you're low unemployment. Something is wrong somewhere. And then when you examine the savings, and you see the 10% hold 76% of the savings, and the other idiots, the 90% only have 24, fighting for scraps, and you have a lopsided economy. Well, more deficits are not going to fix it. Deficits are what got us here. Private debt is what got us here. We need to get creative. All right? That's it, guys. I hope I made some sense. And if I'm ridiculous and stupid, please come out and tell me. That's it. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.